Hello, everybody.
Well, hello, everybody that's not here. And that might be here. But I think it's everybody who's not here.
Yeah, I kind of wish you had waited until mine had gone through, so I could make sure that the mic was working there on YouTube.
Oh.
That's why I do that, so I'm not like being told, later that you're not coming through as well.
Ah.
All right, Rick. So what was going on with you this weekend?
Not much. What did I do? Well, I was on Timothy's launch stream over on Rex's channel. Watched some Dead Zone, the old TV show, and not much else. Was on Rex's. I was actually on Rex's channel earlier today too. So
Oh, because
just before
he's got the thing going on with the Chosen, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm gonna need to go off camera here for a quick moment. So why don't you talk to everybody? Feel free to, of course, promote anything or introduce yourself, promote anything. But I'll be right back.
Okay, well, everybody, if you want to go get something at the moment, I would very much suggest Melvin #3 on Fund My Comics. I am the inker on it, so that is cool. Here is a link to that. And you're back already?
Yeah, I just
okay. That wasn't
real quick. I'm not gonna go into what it was, but just had to just do something real quick. So there's a link to the Melvin, the Melvin #3. Is it right? Is it #3?
Yeah, Melvin 3 campaign. He's already at 40% of his goal, which is $500.
All righty then. Sounds cool. And there's a medal. Let's see. Still wrapping up dinner with the fam. Gonna try to be on in a little bit. All right. Hey, Metal, and I also I peeked in on your POV video this morning. That was actually pretty good. Anyways, hope to see you soon here. We'll wait for you. So yeah, so just to get everybody up to speed on my weekend here, because I had quite a busy weekend. Just telling Rick this just before we came on. Of course, yesterday, my graduating class in '93, we had our 30-year reunion. We had an event down at Bolsa Chica State Beach here in California. So went down there, caught up with some old friends and all that from high school. Albeit it was not, the planning of it was not as opportune as we would have liked, because what our organizers failed to not it wasn't as much they failed to understand. They just didn't know until almost right before until like a week before the event, that there was another major event going down in the same area, the U.S. Open surfing event going on down there.
So you're saying they didn't do any surfing and find out that it was on?
Yeah, basically. Well, that's even what my sister said. Yeah, they didn't really do any. It wasn't until one of our other mutual friends had told one of our organizers, "Hey, you do know that weekend is the U.S. Open, right?" And so what ended up happening is, of course, PCH, which is where the beaches are along, of course, Pacific Coast Highway, from where we were up near Warner and PCH down to, of course, down along Pacific Coast Highway. That was just a total cluster. just a total cluster.
So I guess that just made it so there was a bunch more people in the area.
Right, right.
Which might have made it a little hard for parking or to get around.
Exactly. In fact, we had to, we were able to get one of the fire pits, which is one of our goals, was to get a fire pit for those who stayed a little, towards the night for the bonfire.
Okay, so you guys actually did have the reunion on the beach, not in like your old high school or whatever.
Right. It was at the beach.
Okay.
It was at the beach. It was kind of a combined effect. It was kind of an all classes style reunion, but basically it was mainly our class that was there, and maybe a few people. There from our class, from the class of '93, the class I was in, there were about 5 or 6 of us, and then there were like about 3 or 4 from like '95, and then as another separate group was one of the organizers. Her extended family was also there, so basically, we were near one of the lifeguard towers. So, but basically, my group, we just pretty much sat around, talked, reminisced, and I left early because I, of course, was dependent upon the buses. So I walked down from my house down to Beach Boulevard, which was a pretty lengthy walk, and then took a couple buses to get the rest of the way.
Yeah. So I guess you all talked how life was a beach.
Yep. and then today, of course, we were celebrating my older sister's birthday. We took her out to Olive Garden. I just got back a little while ago. Just had to real quickly finish setting up the show here.
Yeah. I've never been to the Olive Garden.
Yeah, so
they do have them here in Canada, though.
All right.
Or they did.
Pretty good hearty stuff to eat. I had a salad. I had the chicken parmesan entree. So, it's like you might see me go. I don't know. When you have a big meal like that, and the only thing you feel like doing is just
sleeping,
taking a nap or something like that.
Yeah. Normally, it's only I don't. I guess a big meal does it, but I know turkey's supposed to have an actual sedative in. What?
Yeah, I think they call it tryptophan. Tryptophan, I believe, or tryptophan, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So basically, well, hopefully Tim will join us soon. Basically, I'm always hoping Tim joins for a couple reasons. Obviously, one to share, so we could share what we went over on Friday when he was my co-host.
Well, I was going to share the link with Apex, but I know he is on vacation.
Yeah.
With
his mom I sent him the link on Facebook. So if you want to try and send him the link via Twitter as well, that would help as well. See if he wants to come and join us. But I can understand if he's on vacation, though, he might either be out of the loop or something else altogether. But
to make it, here is the link to the Mikestand for tonight.
Wait.
You know what? I'll send a link to Tim.
Well, Tim,
I'll remind him.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing that right now. I'm just.
I'm doing it on Twitter.
Okay. I'm doing it on Facebook. All right. So hopefully we'll get some more people in here soon, and Metal will hopefully join us in a bit here. And I do of course have a couple of articles ready to go over just in case we You need, well, one of them you were kind of privy to, because one of the articles I was thinking of covering tonight with everybody was, of course, the Dark Horse one.
Yeah.
The one where we talked about how 1% of their output brings in 2/3 of their profit. So that one's fascinating. So that's one of two that I picked that we'll go over, and then the latest Conan book came out from Titan, and they have got some pretty solid sales numbers. We'll go over that one too. But anyways, just waiting for more people to show up. See if we can get some more people in here to like, share, hang out, go over material here. So let's see. Any big plans for you this week, Rick?
Going up to Toronto on Tuesday.
Oh,
and hopefully I'm going to be back in time for my show Tuesday night.
What you got going on Tuesday?
Rebel News has an event with one of the leaders from the truck thing, from the trucking convoy back in the beginning of 2022.
Hold on a sec, Rick. As in, like, hey, Tim.
Hey, how's it going? Oh, thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Oh my God.
You forgot?
No. You have to understand where I was. It was like, you ever been on a show where you're never allowed to actually answer or say anything without somebody complaining that you cut them off because all they do is talk? I won't say who, but for the love of God. Nice. The guy's a nice person. It's just like he's a little eccentric.
Well, some people made that same claim about me, and of course we got Metal here as well. Hey, Metal.
Yo, Metal.
Hey. Oh, Tim's here. Maybe I should leave.
No,
I'm kidding.
Oh my
God,
God.
how you doing?
Oh, did you see, Tim? You were up to 9 backers.
Yeah, I know. It's almost at the halfway point there.
All right, so before we go, Woody's saying careful not to be debanked in Toronto, Rick. I don't necessarily know what that means.
I don't know. I'm not sure what debanked mean, but I do know that there's been a few stabbings on the subway as of
I know
late.
what he means. I can explain it. Remember in the trucker protest, right? It wasn't even the protesters themselves, the truckers, but people were trying to give money to the trucking protest, and a lot of people who were attached to those GoFundMes and stuff lost their banking privileges, like their accounts were frozen.
Oh yeah, here in Canada, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's all over now. That's when Trudeau declared it was a national emergency and put into whatchamacallit. I forget what it's called now, but it's just that leader, anyways, put out a book about her time, the 2 weeks, and all that, the little bit of time that led up to it, and her time.
Yeah.
And my mom bought it when the last Rebel event that we were at, but she's doing a signing and all that, as well as selling more books at it. So my mom wants to get it signed. So it was $5 to go to the event.
Talking about you getting robbed too.
All right, so with that,
Toronto is a
welcome
place.
to
I have friends in there.
Right. Welcome to the Mikestand, everybody. If you haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people on here, so we can, of course, so we can, get the word out and get more people listening in on what we're talking about and get people exposed. Also, if anything we talk about grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and we will go ahead and answer the questions and to the best of our ability. Now, before I go around doing the introductions here, I got one more little quote that came up here from Woody. I'll acknowledge him. So Woody's saying, I'm sure Trudeau would never do a thing like that again. I mean, golly, that was an emergency.
Yeah, if he thought he could get away with it, he would. I know.
Yeah,
Or I'm
it's one
pretty
of those
sure.
things- my guess, Rick, is that
I-
it's one of those things where if you really believe that, then I've got some swampland in Florida I'd like to sell you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of the idea.
Yeah, like Trudeau is trying to get any power he wants. He's trying to censor the internet in Canada.
Oh, so he's trying to make it like China.
Yeah. Well, China is the dictatorship he most admires because they can do things on a dime.
Yeah. So
Like make people
anyway, so
disappear. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
All right. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go around the horn here. We'll start with Rick and then go, of course, to Tim and Metal. Introduce everybody. Share any links if you like. Pitch whatever project you're doing. I know Tim, you've got one that you just launched. We'll get to you in a moment.
Right.
In fact, I guess you've already. All right, we'll do that after we do the intros. I see you did share a screen. I'll share that after we.
Right. Oh, snap.
All right. So let's go ahead and we'll start with Rick. Rick, you want to reintroduce yourself to everybody? Share any links to talk about your project?
I am Rick Piper, the Pied Piper of Hamilton, the owner, creator of Cross Comics, the inker of Melvin 3, which is now up on Indiegogo for people to
Indiegogo.
Sorry, Fund My Comic.
Yeah,
I'm so
Fund My
used to
Comic.
saying Fund My Comic.
And Rick did share that link earlier.
Yes,
So.
and there's a link in the description for anybody that wants to check it out. You can get it for $5, the digital. And Tim, you should probably put a catch up digitally for that for all three too on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do comic books. I have a YouTube channel, so I guess that's it for me for now. So down to you, Tim.
Let me just go ahead and get Woody here real quick, then we'll get to you, Tim. He's a good politician, though he got that seat guy from the other party to support him. Doesn't have to face election for a few years now, I think. All right.
He doesn't have to, but he's probably gonna. I've heard of possibly snap election, but he might do it. But in 2025, he has to call one no matter what. He could call it before then, or could be called before then.
All right. So, anyways, Tim, you want to give a little intro and talk about what you would do?
Are we sharing screen yet? All right.
I guess I can do that. Thank you for reminding me.
Yep.
Delicious. Why isn't it coming up though? I just shared it.
Oh, I don't know.
There it is.
You go.
Okay, so this is my campaign, Melvin 3 on Fund My Comic. As you can see, it is at 9 backers, $198 at 40%, with 58 days left.
Yay!
And you just launched that yesterday, did you not?
Yes, I did. We got a
3, right?
Yep, we got the $5 tier, digital copy of Melvin 3. You got the physical copy of Melvin 3. And that is for $10 plus shipping. The digital is $5. You don't need to worry about shipping for that one. I just added this. Two. If you like magnets, people seem to like magnets recently. So 2 magnets for $15 plus shipping.
So one of the magnets is the Velvet Comet logo, and one is
the cover of Melvin 3. Yeah. Yep. Oh, and this is cool too. You got I'm showing off the cover, and then you got the credit page right here.
Yeah.
See right there. Look at that. Bam.
Yeah, credit page is awesome.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, don't pat yourself on the back too hard there, Rick.
My name's on it twice.
Yep. And this is the inner back cover right here, which is something left over. I was going to do something with it anyway, but it's the cards you can cut out. You can do. There's like some sketch cards at the bottom there.
High tech. What are you saying? High tech there. So.
Oh, okay. So Return of the Combo Pack. If you're not really sure about Melvin 3, you can get the previous issues. That's for 25 plus shipping. And then you got the merch pack, which is 30 plus shipping. If you like a button, a water bottle, sticker, or a spiral notebook, bam. Some people just like swag, right, Metal?
Oh yeah, dude. Everybody loves swag. It's something like even if you don't want to use it, you can just put it on your shelf. It's cool looking.
Yeah, it's like, hey, here's some stuff I got.
Oh, Tim, there is a button or something, a box that you can click to have those all on the same page instead of 2 different pages.
I did not know that. I'll have to look into that later. And here's the trilogy pack for $35 plus shipping. And of course, if anybody needs more convincing, here is the artwork.
And I don't know if you noticed, Tim, but I also did give you the full screen so you could show all that too.
Cool, thank you. And these are the pages to the book right here. And Sid is a beast when it comes to artwork. I'm telling you, some good artwork.
Yes.
And poor Rick had to ink all this.
Yes, my inks would not be as good if it wasn't for Sid.
Yeah.
I would say so. I didn't even realize those were Rick's inks until you brought it up.
Yeah, there you go. He's got that quite a bit recently.
He brought the best out of you, Rick.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And of course, this is everybody's favorite scene right here: the Melvin's head growing back.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of gore for you gore hounds. Mm-hmm. And of course, everyone gets a kick out of this, even though there's actually a page before this that actually explains it.
Yeah. Now, the only thing that I find a little suspicious about that scene is she actually tucked her towel back to get in the front. It's like she just wouldn't have dropped it.
Well, maybe it's just the timing. You ever think about that? Like he just happened to run into her when she was wrapping the towel around herself.
Okay, maybe I can believe that a little bit.
Work with me here. Okay, and then if you back
naughty.
Yep. If you back Melvin 3 and Rogue the American Dream, you get this 6x9 print. Anyway,
it sounds like somebody has a kid in the background there.
No, it's our dog. She's being a pain in the butt. And that's about it on that.
All right. That's
awesome
cool there.
Stuff.
All right. Anything else you want to mention?
Melvin Zero will be launching in January of 2024. So yeah.
The other thing you might want to think about putting on there, it's up to you, is one of the pages with lettering just to show that it's what it looks like lettered.
Yeah, well, that's true. If you haven't followed me on Twitter, then you would wonder about that, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're gonna go and Metal. You want to introduce yourself? Talk about your channel, what you do. Project you're working on.
I'm the Metal, and I'm a Joe Schumacher apologist. The only thing I want is for you to go back and rewatch Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. They're better movies than you think they are.
No, bat nipples, and I'm done.
I actually just rewatched them while I was cooking and eating dinner earlier. They're great movies.
Oh,
which ones? Batman Forever and
Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. Those were the ones done by Joe Schumacher.
There's a reason why that joke, hey, this smells like Batman Forever, is such a funny joke.
Listen. He was taking what Burton was already building on, but then he brought back the spirit of the 60s Batman TV show, and I think it's a great
which was kind of taking the piss out of Batman to begin with. That's the whole point of the 60s Batman is they were taking the piss out of it.
Well, the thing, the 60s Batman television series is more campy. It was more in line with the CCA at the time, Yeah. It was, pretty much G-rated,
Yes.
Batman.
Whichever one had Bane, which I think was the last one.
That was Batman and Robin.
Yeah. That
was
would have been
ridiculous.
that might have been better if Bane wasn't in there. And
Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
only
just-
problem is that it's just not Bane, right? Like
Yeah.
everything else is kind of at least some version of the characters, but that's like just not Bane.
Yeah.
And I would argue that Tommy Lee Jones was not a very good Two-Face.
He probably could have played a better one because he only plays two types of characters. He either plays like the most serious guy in the world, or he plays like the most insane guy in the world. There's like no in between with Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, I think I don't know if you'd call those the exact opposite though, because both of them tend to be more very intense type characters, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, but they're like on the opposite ends. Like he's either when I mean insane too. I mean like the most wild type of insanity, right?
I
he's
would-
either
I
like
would-
Agent K, or he's like the character he played in Under Siege, which was also
Or Fugitive. Fugitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I just can't agree with you on the whole Schumacher thing. It was too whack to even handle. It was whack, dude.
I think it was only whack for the time because like Batman was getting darker going into the 90s. And that Marsupial brought this up on Twitter when I was arguing with him. And he's like, it's just not what fans wanted at the time. But going back, I'm like, those to me feel like the most comic-y Batman movies out of all of the movies.
Oh, out of the more recent ones, or are you including the Adam West?
Are you even talking about
I'm
all
including all of them.
You're talking about even the bad puns from Mr. Freeze? Oh my
Yes.
god, I want.
Oh, dude, when you walk into Mr. Freeze's lair, right, for the first time, and you hear like the Snow Miser theme and everything, this feels like just entering a villain's lair from a comic book. And all of his henchmen are actually dressed like comic book henchmen, and they're doing like comic book henchman-y things. Like I just felt like I was in Batman when watching that movie.
I like the darker Batman. That's
Yeah.
just kind of because of Batman '89. It's just
Yeah. The only thing I don't, well, obviously I don't like Bane, but I don't like what they really did with Robin either.
yeah.
They put him in the Nightwing outfit,
Yeah.
and he was a little too old, in my opinion.
Yeah. See.
Yeah, same with Barbara. I didn't like that they made Barbara Alfred's niece instead of Commissioner Gordon's daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is this the movie you guys are talking about? Movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Based off of the Michael Keaton ones, although technically, if you go by Flashpoint, they were separate universes.
Even Keaton's in comparison to the Nolan Batman is kind of whack now.
See,
But-
I don't like the Nolan Batmans, like almost at all.
Oh, okay. We're gonna be like that. All right.
Yeah. I don't. I don't enjoy them. They don't
Okay.
feel like Batman movies.
Well, I liked the first one, Batman Begins. The second one was
Dark
iffy.
Knight. Dark Knight
And
was
the
was
last
the
one-
bomb.
And I think we discussed this off air the other day. You know, the last one is of the Nolan ones. Just
Meh.
doesn't seem like Batman at all.
Well, it's
Yeah,
like,
but
meh.
I didn't mean to derail. That was supposed to just be my quick intro. I'm sure Mike has some things he wants to talk about, and not the old Batman movies.
Well, I mean, this is kind of an open each panel. We do kind of let the conversation go and go wherever it goes. I have stuff available if we don't have stuff to talk about, or
A scene does stick out of my head from the Nolan Batman. I always think about is the limo scene with Two-Face, and he like flips the coin and goes, "Oh, you're a lucky man," and then he flips it again and goes, "Too bad he's not." And the guy's like, "Who?" And he points the gun at and he goes, "The driver."
Yeah, which I find funny. There's a lot of good humor. I found that Two-Face too serious because like he just almost didn't have like the split side. If we can meet some middle ground in between Tommy Lee Jones' weird crazy character and that one, then I would be happy on Two-Face.
I can see that.
You guys mentioned that, right?
Yeah.
Right now, as part of my my weekday watchings, I'm watching the cartoon Batman, the Brave and the Bold, 2008.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
The animated one. Yeah. They on one of the episodes I recently watched, they actually had a similar situation to what you talked about with Two-Face. It's like with one guy got lucked out, and the next guy got doomed, because of the coin toss. So it was kind of funny that way. But anyway, yes, and even though I do say I like to let the conversations go as much as sometimes,
You do have something you want to talk about, right?
Well, there is, of course, there's at least one thing I was hoping we could do, and then there's a couple other articles. But Tim was my co-host this past Friday night when we went over some books from Fiction House, Fight Comics Volume 1, Number 1, and Planet Comics Volume 1.
Yes,
Issue 1.
Planet
Comics is more or less a genre-specific anthology where all sci-fi stuff. Now, due to the fact that the page counts were pretty high on of the 10 stories, 4 of them were double digits. We were only able to read 2 stories. But what I did this time, which I may rarely do depending upon the situation, because I think I've told you all my calculations before of how many pages I've got to read within a 2-hour time frame there. But I went over what we did is we went over the synopses of all the stories, just so we could introduce the characters, so that later we may be able to read some of the other stories as well, other than the ones that I read this past Friday. And then we just read the 2 lead features from each book. And then Fight Comic, a little bit more generic, even though you did have some genre-specific stuff. You did have 2 or 3 features on boxers. And even though the feature that we actually did was Shark Brody for that one, but the 2 features that we actually read were Flint Baker, The Planetary Adventures of Flint Baker from Planet Comics Volume 1, Issue 1, 15 pages. And then in Fight Comics Volume 1, Issue 1, Shark Brody, which was 10 pages, so 25 pages altogether. With all that being said, Tim, would you like to share your thoughts on what we read Friday?
I found the first story. It was the one where there was a scene where they were not able to kidnap the princess via a air attack. These ships, right? They're attacking the city, and they couldn't get to her, so they were just able to run their guys in and kidnap her without any resistance whatsoever. It was just kind of the most ridiculous idea ever. It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that was from The Planetary Adventures of Flint Baker when he flew to Mars with a bunch of convicts to help out.
Because convicts are going to help you out. Cool.
Yeah. Well, what you want to tell him about Shark Brody?
What was the thing about Shark Brody? They were all very kind of the same kind of story in a sense, because they didn't do anything. It was always hero fights bad guy, and bad guy somehow, like maybe a woman gets kidnapped, or it's a very
simple. If you remember, Shark Brody was the one where there was that twist where, the woman got kidnapped.
Oh, I did. The woman that was kidnapped ends up actually killing the villain by knocking him into water where sharks or alligators tore him apart. And
do you remember how she got him into the water?
She knocked him in with an oar, I think. It was an oar, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, that was interesting, but besides that, it was pretty much the same type of. They didn't really venture out of that little box in the early days.
Yeah, I mean, there were both stories were well, of course, the Flint Baker one was 15 pages, and then in that one book there, you had 2 other stories. Another one that was 15, and one that was 12. But then that's why I just read more or less the synopsis.
Well, you could argue and say they did the same thing in the 50s with the horror comic genre. It was always a person doing an awful thing, and then that awful thing comes back to bite them in the butt later in the story. Yeah. Or there's some kind of punishment for their wicked deeds.
All right. So, any other comments you want to share on what we read, or
no? It was pretty much what you expect from those type of stories. It was
pretty much what you'd be saying is that it was standard fare for the time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Standard fare for the time. No surprises.
Yeah. All right. So with that now, and we're already up to 34 minutes here, so 35 minutes.
Really?
A good time already. Yep. Okay, so there were a couple articles I did want to go over from Bounding into Comics. One of them, Rick was here when I went over it initially. Now these are kind of more on the potted side, just because they're more release, but just there are some numbers involved in these too. So I'm going to first pull up the first article. I'll pull up. They're both from Bounding into Comics. So I'll pull that one up, and I'll go through that, and we'll talk a bit about it here. So this is the first of the two articles I thought would be interesting to share tonight. Wrong guy there, Rick. It's not Tarzan.
Oh.
Nope.
Jim
It's
Zub.
actually something more up Tim's field.
Yeah. Jim Zub's new Conan the Barbarian breaks sales records for Titan Comics. Article by John F. Trent, published back on July 24th. So this is, I guess, now that the Conan books have moved over to Titan now, Jim Zub is doing the writing there. So Titan Comics announced their upcoming Conan the Barbarian #1 by Jim Zub and Roberto De La Torre became the most sold comic in Titan Comics history. Now, the way they wrote that sentence is a little off there. Titan Comics announced their upcoming Conan the Barbarian #1 by Jim Zub and Roberto De La Torre became the most sold Okay, I see. Became the most sold comic in Titan Comics. Seemed like there was a bit missing in the transition there to me. But...
Okay.
It's just a very poorly worded sentence.
Yeah, but my question is, not that it's a bad thing, but how much of a history does Titan Comics even have? I don't think I've heard of them.
And
Well,
the thing we all ask ourselves is, how badly are they going to ruin it? Because we can't have anything nice.
Okay, well, Titan Comics is a comic book publisher distributor over in England, over in London.
Oh,
that's why people. Even though I've read stories, I've covered some of the articles about them on here. They have like they were, I think, at one point they were doing their own Power Rangers series for a while there too.
They started
They're based over in England, I believe. So
yeah, they're part of the Titan Entertainment Group. Before they started making their own, they started with reprints. They've been around since 1981.
Okay, so what? 40 years? 50 years?
Yeah, a little over 40 years. So, I
guess that's not too bad.
Yeah. In a press release, the publisher proclaimed, quote, confirmed sales of the initial print exceeded 80,000, making Conan #1 the largest selling issue in Titan Comics history. With a second printing planned and third printing probable, final sales for the debut issue are expected to exceed 100,000 copies, unquote. Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, especially nowadays.
Yeah. Titan Publishing Director Ricky Clayton celebrated, quote, we are so thrilled with the numbers issued on issue #1. Our staff and partners at Heroic Signatures worked extremely hard to make the best Conan comic ever, and I think we have achieved that, unquote. He added, quote, Jim, in parentheses, Zubs, and Roberto, in parentheses, De La Torre's creation is barbarically perfect. This masterpiece, combined with the unbelievable support of our distribution, Diamond Comics, in parentheses there, and retail partners, made this launch a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for all of us.
Yeah.
So that looks like there's some scenes from the book itself.
Yeah. And as long as they keep the wokeness out of it and all that, they can keep up those sales.
Well, there's one good question to know if they'll keep the wokeness out, and you just have to ask them, what is best in life?
Yeah.
If they answer to crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentations of their women, you're good.
All right. So anyway,
If-
these sales numbers come after Heroic Signatures moved the Conan the Barbarian license from Marvel Comics to Titan Comics.
Yeah.
So Heroic Signatures, I believe, is the parent company that owns the rights to Conan the Barbarian.
I will say this. You know they're going to put the wokeness in if they say, well, they must have consent to get lamentations of their foes, women.
Oh, that's not very barbaric of them.
No, it's not. That's why it'd be woke, wouldn't it?
Heroic Signatures president Frederick Momberg explained the decision to move to Titan Comics back in April to Midnight's Edge, Andre Einherjar. Quote, it sort of started leaking out that we were not going to be with Marvel for much longer. And we were approached by a number of publishers who then wanted to collaborate, co-publish, or take out a license. But at that point, we were already, quote, in smaller quotes, nope, we're not going to do another license. We'll do this ourselves. We want to be true to Robert E. Howard. We don't want to be bound by any comics code or anything like that, unquote. So
well, that's good to hear, because Howard is probably my favorite author of all authors, and I want people to be true to his
word. You know what that author seems to say right there, because if the inference there is part of the reason they left Marvel is because they didn't want to deal with Marvel and Marvel trying to force them to make Conan woke or anything like that. Going back to what you were saying when it comes to if they put in the wokeness, that may not even be an issue here. They may not try to put the wokeness in there because, why go from one company to another if they're going to just basically do the same thing that the other company did, right?
Yeah. Well, they're also saying their own company is doing it. Yeah. So, and they don't want to be bound by a comics code, which, well, Marvel's not, but are there any companies bound by the comic code anymore?
Well, probably not. Probably not, at least not the one that we're thinking of.
Not the capital C comics codes, but each company has their own internal codes these days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's probably what.
Right.
That'd probably be a good way of putting it. Because the comics code that we're thinking of, the CCA, everybody had stopped using by 2011. 2011, by 2011, none of the companies were using the CCA anymore.
Yeah. So, that's why I just thought that statement was a little weird.
But I think as Metal just put it, everybody's got their own quote unquote internal comics code or what they believe should be put in the book, and the whole.
Yeah. With that saying that, it makes a little bit more sense, but I think they could have worded it differently just because I think most people hearing comics code would think of the Comics Code Authority. But
well, those of us who are old enough to remember the CCA. Right?
Yeah, you'd think there's a good chunk of the audience, right? People that are, say, millennial age or younger, where they're not even aware that the CCA was a thing or even still going in some places up to 2011. They just assume that's how comics were.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's people that don't know about it, but I'd say probably, I don't know, over half of your comic audience would know about it.
I would say maybe, because this is bounding into comics, and also they pull a lot of quotes from other places too. But the type of people that read these type of articles, whether it's from here or the places they pull the quotes from, are probably going to be somewhere between young Gen Xers to old millennials. So some of them might know, some of them might remember, but I don't know. I don't even know if it's up to half.
Yeah.
So
It's hard to tell, I guess, for sure.
I just
Anyways.
realized that I still had the share screen full screen, so I just had to minimize that portion of it. So your
Well, that's all right for full screen. That way, it's easy to read for people too. You know,
to read along as we're. Well, I mean, I don't.
people
I
don't
want
need to see us while you're reading it.
They only
All
need to
right,
see us
if you
every
say
so often so they can reestablish whose voice is coming from what.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Because I normally do that anyways. I just had it, enlarged just because we're giving Tim a chance to hear his stuff. So, anyways,
Yeah.
and Tim's doggy is telling us hello, I guess.
How much is that doggy in the window?
Well, she was a little bit gimpy today, so she was taking it. She was forced to take it easy, and now she's getting a little bit restless.
All right. So, anyways, back to the article here. Quote. So we very quickly ended up actually with Titan Comics. Unquote. He continued. Quote. I know the owner and founder Nick Landau and his wife Vivian very well. When I ran the Tradition Games stores in Sweden, Nick Landau and Titan Distributors were the go-to distributor for all of mainland Europe for sci-fi books and stuff. So we've known each other for a long time. As Metal and I had mentioned earlier, Titan is based out of England, based out of Europe, basically. So,
Yeah, it's how a lot of people even got their reprints, because sometimes they wouldn't get comics when they were new, so they'd get them anywhere between like a year to 5 years later, and they'd be reprinted and distributed to them over there in Europe.
Yeah. Quote, and we had entered the year before into an agreement where we would be publishing new Conan books,
Novels.
New Conan novels, books, short stories, ebooks through Titan for the English language. And so it was actually a very quick discussion with them where we needed to sort out the financial details. But they really wanted to come in heavily on our publishing plans. So we made an agreement with them very quickly, unquote, Malmberg explained. And so, of course, some more of the art from the book there, as you can see.
I actually find this really funny because usually it works in the other direction. Most people are used to like a lot of those high fantasy writers to be from the UK or from Europe, and then like American companies will take over the production of their stuff later on. But Howard is actually from my neck of the woods. Maybe he was born like 50 miles from where I live right now in Texas, and you're seeing like this UK company pick up the continuation of some of his works, and it's like the opposite direction you're used to.
All right, so in the same interview, Zub explained what the series was about. Quote, we're not doing serialized in the sense that we're going to have Conan at the start of his career and then just every single moment from his early days into every single moment of his prime into the king. We are going to move around quite a bit. But there's going to be a kind of these bigger, broader kind of stories that we're going to tell. So basically, it is going to be episodic in nature in terms of how they're writing. And actually, I just remembered something. If you guys want to talk amongst yourselves or talk to the fans for a moment, I just remembered something that I once again forgot to do something. This time it was in regard to my phone, but this time I didn't need my phone to actually notify me that I hadn't done it. I just now remembered. I'll be right back.
Yeah. I don't think this is about. Basically, what they're implying, though, is that they're going to jump around between sections of life, maybe go backwards, forward, or whatever, tell things out of chronological order.
We're still talking about Conan?
Yeah, for Conan. For the sake of telling bigger stories, which is not unlike something Howard had done during his life. Sometimes he would tell things out of chronological order. I think it fits the series. Conan is just supposed to be this like larger-than-life high fantasy about a barbarian
Yeah.
Much of the places that he walked across were similar to like walking across areas of Texas, right? Like there's a lot of deserts and wastelands and stuff in between the forested areas. I think that's a fine way to tell Conan stories.
Well, I do
Yeah.
kind of like that, those larger than
Yeah.
life, just bizarre and crazy stories that could no way happen in real life.
Yeah.
Because there are times where it can get a little tedious just following Conan's life chronologically, because there's a lot of like the same thing happened after another. And if you
Yeah.
are jumping around, you can make things less tedious. But it's like, okay, he did this 5 days in a row, but we can like move this around where he did this other thing in between and we're jumping back and forth. I think it might
Yeah.
actually be a better way to tell a Conan
Well,
story.
I mean,
Yeah. Just as long as they let you know when each thing is taking place.
Yeah.
Like,
there was a part of this of the series where he became like a king or something.
Yes.
well, I mean, and that can be the tricky thing with serials, what you were just talking about there, because that's kind of what happened with Dragon Ball, right? Because I know the Dragon Ball anime, a lot of people would get agitated, particularly during Dragon Ball Z, when you'd have a lot of these fight scenes extended out for like weeks at a time. It would seem like.
And it's
Yeah,
just
with
nothing
band-
but a fight for like chapter upon chapter. I think the fight between Goku and Frieza is somewhere like 15 chapters long.
Yeah. And in the anime, it covered like quite a few.
Almost a season. Yeah, it's like the better half of a season, just worth of episodes.
Yeah. So, anyways, getting back to the article here.
Yeah, I could see that being a little boring. Can we get on with some story?
People have learned from that too. When they like modern manga, if you read like where One Piece is now, or some of the other things like the end of Naruto, or currently Demon Slayer does this, where they'll try to break up the pace of large fights by having things going on with other people or flashbacks to try to add more weight to the fight. Storytelling has just progressed a lot since then.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about, because Toonami is still running. They're still running Naruto Shippuden on there, right? And I'm watching Shippuden on Toonami, and they have some of the differentiating art, like
Yeah.
art. And then right now is the Jiraiya, the Jiraiya handbook one where Tsunade is reading Jiraiya's novel, and they're playing it out on there. Things are obviously kind of slightly different from the main storyline, obviously, in that. But
Yeah,
I think
or
it's
even
important,
My
like-
Hero does this. I'm not a fan of My Hero, but a lot of people are. Here's something I think they actually do well. Is the creator, he will, in the middle of a fight with a character like Todoroki, he will have like a flashback to why he's like this edgy kid, like his father abusing him and stuff in the fight to add weight to the fight, right? It's just a progression of storytelling that you wouldn't see as often in the past.
Yeah, and it breaks the fight up a little bit. Showing something else other than the fight for.
Well, yeah, and part of what I'm watching in Naruto here is, of course, they're doing this with a lot of the characters because they're all supposedly trapped by the world tree, and a lot of these are just dreams that are being played out in their mind.
And if you go to older shows, like another one I used to watch a lot was Inuyasha. Really love the show, but if it was like a sequence, the only break you would get from the fight is panning over to the people watching the fight and them talking about something, and then it would just be right back in the fight. And you might have a fight for like 3 episodes straight, and that's just it.
Well, I think of all the arcs of Inuyasha, I think the one that probably had you might argue in terms of more story than fight was maybe the Chapter Black saga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think bringing up Inuyasha is a pretty good example too, because that's more of a contemporary type of story to Conan, right? And it's a story that it just tells everything pretty much in order. Sometimes there's a flashback to the past because of Kikyo being an important character, but that's pretty much almost only one.
You're saying Inuyasha. I thought you were talking about Yu Yu Hakusho.
No. There's a similar arc, a different name, but it has the word black in it, so I was crossing over. Yu Yu Hakusho is also mostly like that, where it is just fight after fight. But Inuyasha is a closer type of story to Conan, And it is kind of the same way where like almost the only flashbacks you get are when Kikyo shows up, because it shows like her and Inuyasha's time in the past. But aside from that, it's just like it's straightforward. And sometimes it'll be like 3-4 episodes in the show where it's a different bad guy, but they're doing the exact same thing that they did the last episode. And in some ways, it might be better to tell this story out of order.
Yeah. So, anyways, getting back to the article. As soon as I pull it up, of course. In the same interview, Zub explained what the series was about. Oh, wait, actually, we already read that part, I think. Oh, actually, no, we didn't. Okay. Quote, we're not doing serialized in the sense that we're going to have Conan. Oh, actually, we did. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we read all that.
Yeah. Quote, Conan's life is a series of these kind of cool, echoing patterns where things that happened to him in his younger days have an effect on him in his prime, and potentially have an effect on him later, as the king. So we wanted to kind of explore that stuff, unquote, he elaborated.
I was just gonna say the only thing that I think could be the problem with that the way they're going to be jumping over is they got to watch out they don't contradict themselves in certain things.
Well, if they follow the story, they don't have to worry about that, right? As long as they just don't change much. But what they're basically saying is instead of telling things straightforward chronologically, they're telling it like a poem, right? So you could have an episode or whatever split between he did this very similar thing as a kid, which built up his character for when he did this as a man, which then brings back over to how he handles things as a king, right? So it's telling the episodes in more of a poem form instead of,
Yeah, I get that. Like, I'm just worried. Like I said, worried about the not so much the chronology. Well, I guess the chronology, just them keeping the chronology straight.
Well,
You know how things get messed up, and
it's not a problem.
oh, okay. Well, I wasn't sure how much they might be following the source material and all that.
Because Howard kept his chronology pretty darn straight. Up until he started working in comics, because in his later life he was one of the writers for the adaptations of his stuff in the comics, and the only things that started to muddle is the fact that originally Solomon Kane wasn't part of the Hyborian Age, and then becomes part of it later on in the comic versions of his stuff, and that you don't really get Dark Agnès de Castillon, the Sword Maiden, in the comics. Instead, you get Red Sonja. So yeah, once you get to the original comics, you start to have a muddled chronology. But in like his original like pulps and novels, he kept everything pretty straight. So if you're following that, you're fine.
Okay. I did not know that because I know of Conan's existence, his movies, and comic books.
And
I don't even think I knew that. Yeah, cartoon. I don't even think I even knew it was a novel first, except for getting it from this.
Yeah, he's actually he started 5 years before Tolkien. They're kind of contemporary writers.
Okay.
5 years before who?
Tolkien.
Before
J.R.
Tolkien.
Okay.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, technically he was doing even before that, but I'm talking about the Hyborian Age specifically. Is 5 years before Middle Earth. Solomon Kane, you can go back further, but like the first Conan was published 5 years before The Hobbit.
All right. So, anyways. So from there, Zub discussed how the story arcs jump around in Conan's life. Quote, the very first story is, with a hash there, I don't even think we've named the story arc yet. So I'm going to keep that close to my chest. But the stuff that happens in the first story arc is self-contained. It's an adventure that you can read and enjoy from start to finish. But then the second story, even though we jump ahead a little bit in the timeline, there's connective tissue there plot-wise, and the same thing will happen with our third story arc. Quote, that if you read, the entire first year of Conan the Barbarian, the new series at Titan, you're going to get this really cool epic adventure. Epic as in like epic poem kind of thing, like what you were talking about
Long
earlier.
form adventure.
Yeah.
Yep. My favorite long poem has to be Beowulf.
Beowulf is a good one. I would have to give you props for that one. Yeah, that's a great one.
Yep.
And it's all going to kind of round out and be really, really enjoyable from start to finish. And yet you can also read kind of each arc on its own and not feel completely lost. There is a sort of a nice demarcation point of, okay, a new adventure begins. If you've been reading along, you'll enjoy it. You'll know the bigger kind of picture things that we're doing, but you're not going to be left out in the cold if you haven't been reading the entire series, unquote, he proclaimed.
Yeah, and I could see and agree with that. Like, because if you're doing in this almost poetic form of like rhyming patterns, all you need to know will be set up in like, oh, this happened to him when he was a kid. Then this happened to him as a young man, and then this happened to him as an older man. It's like you don't really need to know much other things because the important parts are all right there.
All right, so Zub would also be asked if there is a difference in restrictions under Titan and Marvel. He revealed that Marvel does indeed restrict the violence depicted in a Conan series. All right. What we're kind of talking about.
That doesn't surprise me.
It's a very, very
Nowadays.
violent series.
Especially with what we know about Punisher, right?
Yeah.
I find it so funny that the people nowadays, like the people who want to get rid of Punisher, misunderstand the whole point of Punisher.
Mm-hmm.
They misunderstand the whole point of comics.
Yeah. Zub would also be asked if, we read that part already. Sorry. He explained, quote, I don't think that the Marvel book was necessarily restrictive in the sense that Marvel's got their broader kind of expression in terms of violence and that you can put on a page. All right, that's a little off. Titan's even looser in that way. It's much more like the classic Savage Sword. We've got violence in the book that I never would have been able to get away with at Marvel, right in the first issue, unquote.
Well, that's good because you can't. They said violence is intense, right? You really can't have a proper Conan story if there isn't like blood and limbs coming off and all kinds of different things. Like it's the story of a barbarian who's killing people for a noble cause. He grows a lot as a man, but still killing people.
Right.
Yeah.
Quote, the violence is intense. We're lopping off limbs. The women are absolutely stunning. Okay. He continued. Quote, it's pretty classic kind of pulp fantasy in that
in that way.
In that way, yeah, I know. It's just taking my brain a moment to
process.
I'm just trying to help a little.
Right.
Just trying to help.
Yeah. There is big love and big violence and big everything. It is intense. Unquote.
God bless America.
We don't want to know about certain things that are big.
Well, I mean, if there's certain things to do with the women, I want to know if they're big.
Yeah. I think I know where Rick was kind of going with it, but anyways.
Yeah, the women, I guess it's all right, but even those can be too big.
I was talking about the hips, Rick. What are you talking about?
I was talking about the hips, too.
You weren't talking about the big hair coming out of their armpits that they're using to swing around on, are you?
No, hips
Remember
are
that
love.
story
Hips are
way
love.
back when?
Exactly.
Menopausal superhero.
Metal speaks truth.
Yeah. So, anyways, back to the thing. The official description for Conan the Barbarian 1 states, quote, years after the Battle of Venarium, a weary Conan returns to his homeland to seek rest and solitude. However, a mysterious scout rider rides in to warn the Cimmerians of an imminent threat on the march of the Pictish wilderness. Will Conan and his new ally be able to hold off this new horde of invaders? Unquote.
I don't know.
I won't. I'm not going to spoil it. I can tell you if they do or not, but I'm not going to.
It's probably going to be yes.
I say they will. I've never read it, but
the
I
first
say they
issue,
will.
okay, the first issue will feature covers by Dan Panosian, Roberto De La Torre, Argerm, Pat Zurcher, who we know he's had a few liberal things to say, right?
Hey, as long as he's only doing a cover, I don't care. Right? As long as he's just not influencing the book itself.
Right. Mike Magnolia and Ian Gist. Other covers include Wraparound Hyborian Age Map, a Virgin Foil Conan movie replica, okay, and a blank sketch cover. The first issue. Go ahead, Rick.
I was going to count how many covers you have there.
I don't know. I think I counted.
If each artist name
right
represents
there,
a cover.
Let's see. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
9
9.
covers.
There's like 9 covers stated in that paragraph right there.
That's too many covers, especially when the only one I care about is the Wraparound Hyborian Age map cover. I love maps in fantasy books. It's actually probably my favorite thing about my buddy Shabby's book Vestry is that when you open up the front cover, there's a map of the place right there. It's like, oh, yes.
Wait. What if in the near future, if I ever did a trade paperback, I did a star map?
Yes, please. For the love of God.
Sweet. Have to find somebody that knows how to do that.
The first issue arrives in comic book stores on July 26, 2023. It will retail for $3.99.
Which was 4 days ago.
Yeah. What do you make of the new Conan the Barbarian #1 breaking sales records at thing? And I think I had actually covered this article and the next one like the day before. So
yeah.
Well,
with 9 covers, it better break something.
It's
gonna break somebody's back. Is what it's gonna break.
It's gonna break the shelf that they put all the covers on at the comic book store. JR's here too, just popping in.
Hey, JR.
Hey, JR. Let's see. Just popping in to hail Xenu and Xena, then lay down after my bike ride. Well, hopefully you can help us out, of course, by liking and sharing the stream and seeing if we can get some more friendly people in here to.
And hopefully it was a nice bike ride.
Yes. Feel free to back Melvin 3 and help me get to that 50% today.
Yes, it's inked by me, JR.
Yes. Xenu and Xena will be very pleased with you. And spare your village.
Yeah, from having Conan come through and ravage it.
Conan's got nothing on Melvin.
Yeah, I was to say have Melvin come through and ravage. Well, that's why I figured this would be kind of good for Tim because you're basically doing like a space Conan Rambo mix character.
Yeah, pretty much.
I guess JR doesn't like Titan comics. Titans is a grocery, and I try to pronounce
grotesquerie. It takes characters, especially British characters, I've loved. Then is that supposed to be crops or crops?
Craps.
Craps them out.
Yeah.
Well-
Well, hopefully these guys are better, the specific team that they have doing this, because they seem to really like the source material. Because if not, then they're just going to be doing this to an American story as well.
And that's an act of war.
Yeah. Not just on all of America, but on Texas specifically.
Yes, you'll have to go over there and tell them what's up.
All right. So, anyways, getting on to this one, and I know Rick, you were in the chat the other day when I covered this one. This one I found interesting because it has some interesting, numbers applying to it.
I do see guts.
Yeah, guts from Berserk. Yeah.
Yes, and then I saw Dark Horse. Like, oh yeah, because they're the ones that localized it originally.
All right. So here we go.
JR said feminist Sherlock Holmes made me vomit.
That would make me vomit too.
Yeah.
Feminist. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, anyways, on to the article here. I want to check one last thing. We're already past the hour mark, so that's good. We're getting good time here, it would seem. Dark Horse Comics reveals, quote, manga is 1% of our output, but represents 66% of our sales. So when I saw that article by John F. Trent published on the 25th, so when I saw that, Rick, you were here when I was covering that article too.
Yeah.
Think about that. So for every 100 books, just think about those numbers for every 100 books that Dark Horse publishes, one is a manga, and that one book is bringing in about 2/3 of their profits, of their sales, right? While the other third is being done by just the other 99% of the books that they're publishing.
Well, that would make me seriously consider putting out a few more mangas. If I was
I would actually just tell them to get good scrubs.
And there's, of course, the Berserk title you were probably talking about there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
I've seen the first anime, the one
versions.
from back in the 90s there. That was pretty good.
Yeah, that's my problem. I actually hate their original localization of Berserk, though maybe Rick would like it. I don't know, because I think we've talked about this before. But they used to, much like Viz, flip all the images so you would actually read it like an American comic book. And I personally prefer, when I'm reading a manga, to read it in the direction that the manga was read without the imagery being flipped.
Although I haven't done it yet, trying to figure out how to put this up there properly. I do have some My Hero Academia ones.
Oh, in the right direction too. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, let's. Oh, was somebody about to say something, or?
Yeah.
No.
That's the front, but I've
Yes.
turned it the wrong way.
Oh, I think Tim just stepped away for a moment. So, anyways, let's get back into this article here. Dark Horse Comics Senior Director of Licensing, Michael Gombos, recently revealed that the publisher's manga offerings make up 66% of the company's sales, despite being only 1% of the output.
I'm like,
So think
can we
about
bump
that.
that up to 2%?
Let's say for 100 books, they're publishing 100 books. Let's say they're making 3,000 on those 100 books, right? 2,000 of that is coming from one book, and the other 1,000 is coming from the other 99. That's kind of interesting, wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
I wouldn't even say it's
like,
coming from the other 99. Most of it's probably coming from like reprints of, I don't know, isn't Hellboy Dark Horse? Like that's probably where most of it's coming from.
Yeah, but
I doubt most people can name most other Dark Horse properties.
Yeah.
they used to have Star Wars.
During an appearance at San Diego Comic-Con as part of the, quote, found in translation, unquote, journalist Deb Aoki reported that Gombos relayed during the panel, quote, it's important to remember that manga was made for Japanese readers. At Dark Horse Comics, manga is 1% of our output. but represent 66% of our sales, or in a looser translation, 2/3 of their sales. Right?
Yeah. No, like I said, can we bump that up to 2%? Maybe 3?
Yeah. I remember you were talking about that when we were talking about it when I covered it this past week. Gombos revelation comes after Embracer Group revealed that Kentaro Miura's Berserk manga was the highest selling print property in 2019, 2020, and 2021.
JR asks, is Dark Horse referring to the manga it sells in Japan, in America, or worldwide?
It's think localizations.
I was gonna say I think it's whatchamacallit, in America.
I think this is Dark Horse period, like its full catalog, what it's selling. Manga makes up the most, and it's going to be the fact that it doesn't sell these mangas in Japan. It's a localizer when it comes to these contracts. So it's the manga sold here.
Yeah, because Dark Horse doesn't sell manga in Japan because Berserk is by Shogun Jump or somebody over there, and they're getting the rights to sell it in America.
What I think they're talking about is, of course, American sales, obviously. I think that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically worldwide because they also have to get it through Dark Horse in Europe as well, but just in the Western world, like you could say.
Western world. Okay.
Yeah.
So, anyways, back to the article here. It was also the third most sold property in 2017 behind Zelda and Overwatch in 2017, and the fourth most sold property in 2018 behind Zelda, Super Mario, and World of Warcraft.
Have you guys ever read the Legend of Zelda
World of
manga?
Warcraft was a game, not a comic, but...
Well, the comic's based off the game, just like with Mario and Zelda. And oh no, the Legend of Zelda manga is actually really, really good. It expands on the stories of the games. I specifically recommend the Twilight Princess one, but you can go back and read Ocarina of Time. Any of them, they're worth a read. If you just genuinely like comics, I would recommend reading the Legend of Zelda manga.
All right. So, anyways, back to the article here. Not only did they reveal that Berserk was their highest-selling print property, but that its rise to the top of the charts also followed a trend where the company's backlist sales began making up a plurality of its total sales. I get the impression you were wanting to say something there, Metal.
Yeah, well, this kind of just reaffirms my initial thought that it is mostly things like Hellboy reprints and backlist stuff that is making up the rest of their sales.
Anyways, if you guys can talk to the chat for a moment, because I got to step away from the computer for a moment. I'll be right back. So
absolutely.
And Jared says, now I must read Warcraft comics.
I probably should.
Must you read?
I've heard they're actually pretty good. I do like the lore from Warcraft. I've seen a few panels from them, but I've never read the Warcraft comic. But
it's probably because it said something up there. That's why he's got to read it.
Yeah,
a little further up in the article.
Yeah, but I've heard they're good. I heard they're pretty close to the actual lore of the games too. Actually, closer than that really weird live action movie that I think it was Warner Brothers or somebody made like a couple years ago.
Yeah,
it wasn't a bad movie, but it was like you could have been a lot closer to the lore.
Oh,
what movie was that?
Rick, is that the right link?
No, I deleted it right away.
Okay. But the Warcraft movie, it's like it wasn't horrible, but it was just trying to be too much Lord of the Rings. I'm like, I wish you were closer to the lore. Like you got like some of the major story events right, but like some of these characters aren't even acting the same. Some of them aren't even in the right places they should be. It was kind of disappointing. An okay flick if you're watching the theaters. I don't think I'd ever rewatch it. But the comics aren't that way from what I've heard. I heard that they're actually like really, really close to the lore of the games.
Jared says, I'm playing Warcraft now. It's an addition.
Classic
The movie,
Warcraft or the WoW, because I've played some WoW. I couldn't get into it long term, especially after Cataclysm was kind of like the last time it was any good. But I love the old ones. I could replay Warcraft 3 over and over again.
I actually preferred Age of Empires.
That's also a good game. I'm not gonna.
Age of Empires
both of them.
Yeah, I have that.
Yeah, 2. Oh, that's the best.
I have the definitive edition on Steam.
I have it on Xbox.
Yeah, I like all those old games. I like the original StarCraft. I like Warcraft 1 through 3. I like Age of Empires 1 and 2. I don't think I've actually. Yeah, I think it's all. But oh no, and Age of Mythology is really good too. That's a good one.
Honestly,
I even like the
the
old
reason
Civ games.
The only reason why I like Age of Empires more is because it was a little more free to kind of like you didn't have to stick to a story. You could just build your kingdom and attack people.
Well, have you played Age of Mythology?
I might have.
You're talking the sandbox mode, Tim.
That's what they had.
Well, with Age of
campaign. Campaign, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Lich King on a Turkish server that's free. Yeah, I mean, Wrath of the Lich King was still when it was good, so I can respect that. Yeah.
You were saying, Rick? I'm sorry.
Yeah. What was I saying? Something about
I was playing the sandbox mode.
Yeah, because you could also, go the campaign or whatever, do the story mode.
I preferred the sandbox mode because you could. I always went at the maximum of empires that could be like non NPCs.
Yeah,
and then I'd have to hurry up and build my army and all that and kind of try to defend them off. And most of the time I'd lose, but there'd be times I'd actually win.
Yeah, but I give you why Warcraft 3 specifically is the game that was worth investing time in, because not only did it have a really good competitive mode, which Age of Empires did too, but it had a really good competitive mode. It also was basically a sandbox for development. The mods, the arcade, like the actual custom game mode for that you could download different people's maps and game rules was just worth getting.
Okay, just let me address something to Mike. Accidentally, I went to put Tim's link in the chat. I accidentally put the StreamYard link, but I deleted it right away. So you might see it on your end, but nobody's able to access it because I deleted it, Mike.
This just in: 10 backers, $203, 41%.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh yeah, okay. I went over to the StreamYard screen. That was the message redacted, and then all right, I see that. All right.
Whoopsie.
Also, I can agree with JR to some degree. He said best RTS ever, Total War Warhammer. I do like the Total War series, and I like that it's actually still strong. When they make a new one, it's just the same as ever been. But then when they did their Warhammer, yeah, that was
what about the Star Wars one they did?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Star Wars one was pretty good.
Which one did you always play? I always played the Empire.
Oh no,
I
played it a couple times, but.
If I played either the Empire or I think it was the Droid Army because you could put shields.
Yeah.
Around your base. So.
Now I played all the way through the sandbox mode. I believe not sandbox, the story mode or lore mode on Age of Empires things, but then afterwards I'd play in the sandbox mode. So
okay.
I could do whatever.
But now I guess we need to get back to the article.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's see. Yeah. Okay. So not only did they reveal that Berserk was their highest-selling print property, but that its rise to the top of the charts also followed a trend where we read that part already. In 2018, 50% of sales were initial sales, compared to just shy of 30% being backlist sales. So initial sales meaning the first run of a comic as opposed to back issues. Would you guys agree with me on that? That's the case. That was the case.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure, of course, whether that would be high for back list sales or not. And of course, backlist is only so far back. We're not going to print
I
something
think
from.
backlist sales actually probably should be about 50% of your sales. The problem is how small the overall section of their sales are, right? Because again, this is still only making up a third of their total sales. But if this was a higher proportion of their comics being their sales, I think like you should have your backlist readily available for people who want to jump into series, and it should be probably half of your total sales.
So backlist sales would increase to 37.5% in 2019, with frontlist sales declining to 35.7%. Actually, was somebody about to say something there?
Well, I'm just going to say one thing to Tim. JR says, "Can I not get Digital Melvin 1 and 2 as an add-on?" Ask JR.
That should be an add-on.
Well, it should just be a thing because you can't really have add-ons on the thing.
Or whatever it is.
On my comic, but a tier
Well-
for maybe $10 or $12 for all three.
All right. Well, let me see what I can do.
Yeah, digital's the best because it costs you nothing. Like that's just basically free money to help with the shipping of everything else.
Tis true. It is. If you don't have it, it is leaving money on the table.
All right. So, anyways, as we continue on here, in 2020, backlist sales were making up 45% of the company's sales, while frontlist sales had declined to 27.9%. Finally, in 2021, backlist sales were making up nearly half of all sales at 49%, while frontlist sales had declined to 24.1%. So now, particularly you, Metal, you seem to know more about this stuff. Obviously, I would. You guys might probably have more to say on this than I would. What do you think of what we just read there? But any thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think the problem is the rise in the backlist sales. Like I said, I think at any point in time between comic sales, it should be your backlist should end up being close to half. Or at least rising to it. The problem is the decline in the front list, right? Because that means something other than the front list and backlisted comics are making up the rest of the portion of the sales. It's got to be more than manga in general, because obviously even their manga is going to count as backlist as well, right? And probably a good chunk of their backlist is like the older issues of Berserk, right? So the bigger problem is what's making up that gap. Is it merchandise or other things? It's probably what's counting, and why is their front list falling? And it's probably because their newer stuff just sucks.
You think maybe their new stuff maybe sucks, or maybe they're trying to throw in some stuff that people don't really want to read?
I don't see the difference there. Right? If people don't want to read it, then it sucks. Like you have to make sure your customer wants it.
You have to entice them.
Right. So maybe an even more interesting statistic in the Embracer Group report was that sales at Things from Another World stores were pretty much flat between 2019 and 2021. The report notes that sales in 2019 came in at 2.3 million, stayed flat in 2020, and had a slight increase in 2021 to 2.5 million. While sales at Things from Another World were flat, sales at Dark Horse Digital did see a significant bump during the COVID-19 lockdowns, which I guess would kind of make sense. In 2018 and 2019, sales were flat at 3.4 million. It significantly increased to 5.5 million in 2020, and then declined to 4.3 million in 2021.
They seem to be going on a roller coaster.
At least on that part, because they did bring up COVID, everybody went on a roller coaster when it came to COVID. It's the other parts around it, like the 2018, 2019, and then after the recovery. I think we could still discount 2021 because people were trying to recover from that, but at least the second half of 2022 into the first
What was that? You kind of
Oh, did I robot?
yeah.
Cut out, yeah.
Yeah, I was saying basically though we could still discount 2020 and 2021. That's safely within that COVID time. But as you get into the second half of 22 and this first half of 23, that you could safe to say that that's not affected by COVID, and that roller coaster is natural.
All right. Anyways, as we get ready to continue on here with the article, let's see. Make sure that. All right. So another interesting statistic to look at, given Dark Horse's revelation, the manga represents 66% of their sales, is the fact that Berserk Deluxe Volume 1 from Dark Horse Comics was only the 16th most sold manga title of 2022, as reported by NPD Bookscan. It was behind Chainsaw Man Volume 1, Spy Family Volume 1, Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Volume 1, Chainsaw Man Volume 2, Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Stories of Water and Flame, Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 0, My Hero Academia Volume 1, Chainsaw Man Volume 3, Chainsaw Man Volume 4, Spy Family Volume 2, Chainsaw Man Volume 10, Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Volume 2, Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 1, Chainsaw Man Volume 9, and Chainsaw Man Volume 11. So
That's all understandable, right? Like we would have seen. I mean, Berserk is still one of like the best-selling manga of all time. It even beats most American comic books out in sales, but we've only seen a spike of it around Mira's death, right? Because more people they would have heard about it. Like I've always wanted to get into it. Now's the time to get into it, right? But these other things are the current top manga, so you would expect them to be at the front of the list.
right. And Chainsaw Man, Spy Family, Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero Academia, all those, right? Demon Slayer, all those right now are very popular.
Yeah,
The
they're
manga
current. They're
that
top.
have had the anime adaptations are also fairly popular as well.
Well, that's the other thing too, right? So it's like the exact opposite of the MCU problem, where people go to the MCU. Maybe they always wanted to read a comic book or get their kids in the comic. They go to the store, they want to buy it, and then the thing in the store is not anything close to the movie they just watched. You have like said, Iron Man, Riri Williams is there. Manga though, these anime are all being adapted. They're closer to the beginning. So like, hey, I want to get into it. They go and they look at the manga and it is 1-to-1 exactly the thing that they just watched. So like, cool, I can get ahead of the anime by reading the manga because it's going to be the same.
Yeah. JR mentioned here, Tim, if you add Digital Melvin 1 and 2, I will pledge them too.
Money on the table.
Well, is that even something he can do though? That
Oh yeah, it is.
They use that
I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether it means yes, they have to approve it or something before he puts it up or not. I'm not sure what the process is to adding or subtracting something. But he might be doing that right now since he's quiet.
Oh, yeah, I can definitely do it. I'm gonna do it like maybe after this, so I'll look into it.
Yeah.
But it'll
Well,
be up.
let me know if you do it for tomorrow, and then I'll announce it on my show.
Oh yeah. Oh, and I also got I added magnets.
Yeah.
Fucking magnets, man.
How do they work?
What the is a clock?
All right, so getting back to the article then. When looking at ICV2's Comic Hub sales data, the book took fourth place. The difference between NPD Bookscan data and Comic Hub data is that NPD Bookscan, and they took out the C there. I think that should say Colex instead of Olex. In parentheses there, Colex weekly point of sale data on print book from over 16,000 locations, including e-tailers, chains, mass merchandisers, independent comic book stores, independent bookstores, and more. NPD Bookscan covers approximately 85% of the U.S. trade print book market.
And I think e-tailers is supposed to be e-retailers. And JR says, if nothing else, I'll send you some cash as a tip and you can email me the book, says JR.
That one may not be wrong, though. I have seen people call electronic retailers just e-tailers, like retailers, just to, to be quirky. They do that a lot. But definitely the collection. I also noticed earlier one of the Jujutsu no Kaisen was missing the N. I think Bounding needs to be a little bit better about their proofreading just because of like how big of a site they are now.
Bounding in comics, because
we
because I picked out a lot of the typos there when I read.
It's not like it's a single person writing all these. There's different writers and team. They need to actually have somebody like checking all this stuff before it goes live.
You should totally see if you can get hired there, Metal. Whip them the shape.
Maybe.
Yeah, and then maybe if they need to, I don't know, get some air into their head or whatever, you can maybe just take them by the collar and drag them along on one of your vlog walks.
Yeah.
Oh God, here comes Metal. He's got that 2x4 again.
Yeah,
that's digital 2x4.
Go out about 3-4 o'clock in the morning, grab them by the collar, and just drag them out of their house and just walk them around.
I swear I won't make a typo again, Mr. Metal. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me.
Let's see. Comic Hub, quote, tracks sales at stores selling American comics around the world, unquote. Chainsaw Man Volume 1, My Hero Academia Volume 1, and Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Volume 1 were the only books to surpass Berserk Deluxe Volume 1 on the Comic Hub sales chart. That's Mob Psycho right there.
I like Mob Psycho.
Dark Horse Comics seems to recognize the value of manga, as they are not only publishing Miura's Berserk, but are also publishing One's Mob Psycho 100, Sumito Owara's Keep Your Hands Off Aizokin, Wataru Nadatani's Cat Gamer, Kota Hirano's Drifters and Hellsing, as well as deluxe hardcover editions of Yasuhiro Nighto's Trigun. What do you make of the galling statistic that manga sales make up 66% of the company's sales, but are only 1% of its output? Well,
same thing I said earlier. Get good, scrubs.
Yeah, interesting.
Start
bumping those manga output sales up. Get some more money.
Maybe you should be doing more Western adaptation, as long as, of course, they're not trying to turn them woke or anything like that, of course.
Yeah.
Or here's a good idea. Don't tell the artists and writers what to do and start poaching would-be talent from Japan, right? There's a lot of people who submit to, say, like Shonen Jump and stuff every single day, and a lot of them don't get to make it. You can go to sites like Metabang and look at people uploading their own manga and be like, hey, you look good. Let's just hire you and we'll translate your stuff for you.
All right. That could be a positive. As long, of course, as they don't,
they don't touch it. Just straight translation directly.
Yeah. As best as you can do for a translation, because you say sometimes the translations can be iffy.
Yeah, there's certain parts of localization I get, because there's a lot of idioms. A lot of the Japanese language is idioms because they don't have like specific words for things like we do. So they will poetically say something like the snow falling from the mountain to describe something, right? And that stuff you can totally translate locally. It's when they do have just very direct ways of saying things, you should just translate it directly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, what did you guys think of the articles tonight? We picked up?
Intriguing.
Yeah. The second one intrigued me. That's why I wanted to bring it forward for you guys. You know, Rick was here on the other night when I was covering it. So, but I thought, you know, as part of the full panel, it would be a very nice, you know, discussion to be had. You know, when you're looking at it, and, you know, basically 1% of your output's producing 2/3 of your sales.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy for sure.
Yeah, that just seemed like very, to me, that just seemed very interesting, very like, wow, you know, kind of thing, you know. But yeah, that did need to be called, you know, that definitely need to be called attention to, right? All right, so let's see. We're at an hour
40.
40 now. So, let's see. So this day in each history, and then, let's see. I'm just trying to think. There weren't any other articles I want to go over, but was there anything else that you guys wanted to bring up? Anything that crossed your minds that maybe you wanted to talk? I know, Tim, you want to talk as much as you can about Melvin. But aside from that, of course, is there anything else on your guys' mind that maybe you want to bring up?
Not that I can think of.
I'm trying to think. I'm working on a lot of projects right now, but like most of them I don't really want to talk about because a lot of them are in like the pre-production stage. You know? But hey, my commissions are open. If people want art, I actually just posted a commission I finished recently. They could just DM me, and I'll tell you whatever you want. You tell me what you want, I'll tell you what it costs, and we'll get it rolling. But
actually, one thing that I wanted, that I mentioned earlier, that I like, and I don't know if Rick or Tim, you guys had a chance to watch this as well. That POV video you did this morning, or overnight.
Yeah.
Metal. I actually liked that. You know, basically it's as if you're walking with Metal going around at that. That must have been what, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. You were doing
it was about 4, I think. It was roughly, give or take, maybe a little bit before it.
Just a nice little tour around where you live there. I mean, you know, I just think that's nice. Just, you know, kind of.
Yeah, I've done stuff like that before, but usually in shorter form. I think that's the first time I've ever done like a full 15-minute one. I might do more of those. It's nice to just like walk around the area, and I like to upload stuff. And sometimes it's just like, even though I have something to say, I just don't feel like talking. I just want to go for a walk. So it's nice to just take everybody for a walk with me.
Yeah. Well, I know you've been doing your rambling videos as well of late too. Those are pretty cool too.
Yeah. JR says, I also question the article's implied backlist sales were growing, or if American new book sales were dropping.
It's probably a combination of both if we're looking at the rate, though I would think the new book sales are probably dropping faster than the backlist are growing. But backlist, unless your new stuff is selling, the backlist by default will always grow, right? Because you'll just have more of a backlist for people to go through, right? Which is kind of what he's bringing up. So it's probably a combination of the two, and it is probably the new stuff is falling faster than the back is growing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, commissions. Can you email me some examples? Totally into commissions. I've just cut back because I'm buying a new condo. So I guess that's a question.
I could email some samples of stuff, yeah, if he gets me the email. Or I could also drop my business, or the email I use for business in here.
Yeah. I was going to say, I might have it. I might have his email. I probably do.
Yeah, you can drop that to me if you haven't.
I'm sure JR can tell me if I can or can't in the chat, but you've also.
And for anybody who wants to contact Metal for business purposes, there's his email if you guys want to all take that down and and email him for like commissions or whatever project you want to look into having him be involved with or have you. So
Yeah, it's just like my username is at Gmail. Oh, here's the POV you were talking about. If anybody wants to click on that later.
Yeah.
And then JR was saying, "Yeah, Rick, can you email him?"
Let me. I just want to make sure I have it.
And then for those who want to check out that POV video I just talked about, there it is. There's a link to that.
Yeah, that's the problem is like I can send samples and I can send some of my better work, maybe even my recent commission. The issue is like I can work in almost any style. I can even do dynamic poses if you want extra time. I just don't have samples of everything I can do because of how flexible, right? I tend to work in Marvel work more than anything else, but I actually just did something that looks like a Marvel House style thing. I just don't have examples of every single thing I can do. So I give you some rough stuff, show you my range, and then you can just tell me what you want, and I'll tell you what it'll cost.
And yeah, I do have his email, so I can
Right,
can DM that to you on Twitter.
Rick, you can connect them too. So now we're at hour 46. I think I'm going to start to wind down here. If you guys can stick around afterwards, of course. But what we're going to do now is we're going to start to wind down by, of course, looking back at this weekend in Nietzsche history. Then we'll go through and do some outros, and then we will wrap things up. So let me just go ahead and look through all this. July 30th. July 29th. 19, okay. July 29th, 33. All right. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and take a look back at this weekend in Nietzsche history. History! Let me see. First off, we're going to go back 90 years yesterday, back to 1933, as on yesterday's date, back in 1933, the Walt Disney produced cartoon Old King Cole premiered in theaters on yesterday's date 90 years ago. It was part of the Silly Symphonies series, based on several nursery rhymes and fairy tales, including Old King Cole. So on yesterday's date in 1933, Old King Cole debuted in movie theaters for Walt Disney productions.
I love Silly Symphonies.
So with that, moving on to let's do the next piece of Nietzsche.
And I DM'd it to you on Discord.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll check it later.
Okay. So 5 years ago yesterday, some more unfortunate news for a number of people. 5 years ago, yesterday, so I can get to it there. The following wrestlers passed away. Memphis stalwart Brickhouse Brown passed away at the age of 57. Nikolai Volkov, known for his time in the WWE or WWF, he passed away at the age of 70. Brian Lawler, also known as Brian Christopher, another Memphis mainstay who did spend some time in the early 2000s with the WWE, with late 90s, early 2000s with WWE. Of course, one half of the tag team, Too Much Than Too Cool with Scott Taylor, passed away at the age of 46. So on yesterday's date, 5 years ago today, Brickhouse Brown, Nikolai Volkov, and Brian Lawler, and just in case you guys were wondering, yes, that's the son of Jerry Lawler, all passed away. Brickhouse Brown at the age of 57, Nikolai Volkov at 70, and Brian Lawler at 46. Now, that was yesterday. Now we're going to look at, of course, today. What happened on this date in history, part of this weekend. So first off, on this date 20 years ago today, back in 2003. Oops, why did I do that? I hit the wrong thing there. All right. So on this date, 20 years ago today, the 5th issue of Masters of the Universe from Image went on sale on this date 20 years ago today. It's $2.96 for 2 pages. This was the penultimate issue of the series. They only ran 6 issues. But on this date, 20 years ago today, the 5th issue of Masters of the Universe.
I wonder if this was in connection with the series around that time.
Might have been. That does kind of look like Skeletor right there.
Yeah,
Cover.
but what I mean in 2002 they did a revamp version of He-Man.
Oh, the cartoon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering whether this series might have been in connection with that.
Which I like that one because they actually made Prince Adam a little smaller and he kind of Shazammed into He-Man, which made it a lot easier for people to believe that they weren't the same person, unlike the original when they literally was just a change of outfit.
He was a little bit more tan as He-Man, I think, too.
Yeah.
Barely.
Yeah, he was. And more muscular. I think slightly more muscular too. But anyways, on today's date, 20 years ago today, the fifth and penultimate issue of Masters of the Universe from Image on sale sold for $2.95 with 32 pages. And also on this date 5 years ago today, this will be our last piece of niche history here.
And Gio says, that's okay. I like a variety of styles.
So on this date 5 years ago today, the second season of the original net animation of Sword Guy animation was released on the net from Land Q Studios on this day 5 years ago today. So there you go with that. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. Now, before we leave, of course, as we wrap things up here, we're gonna once again go around, give people a chance to do an outro. Of course, share links, pitch your projects. So if you do stuff throughout the week, like on your YouTube channels, go ahead and pitch that as well. Start with Rick and go, in our usual order. Rick to Tim to Mel, and I'll wrap things up with some closing remarks before we head out. So Rick, go ahead.
Of course, I'm Rick Piper of Cross Comics, and I do stuff on YouTube, make comics. I will be having a show at noon tomorrow, doing up a bit of a manga that I'm trying to get together. And of course, also tomorrow at 8 o'clock, I will be hosting the draw along or the Monday night draw stream with me, Chris Talovich, Tamulovich, Mighty Geek, and any other artists that would like to be there. Metal, that means you're welcome to join in if you have the time.
If you want to post a link to your channel so everybody can find you.
Yeah. Give me a sec. Okay. So on to Tim.
All right. Tim, you're up.
I think Tim died.
No, I did not die. I was working on something. Okay, so Melvin 3 will be on Fun My Comic, so I recommend people back it. We are at currently, that's not it, 42% with 11 backers 58 days ago. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter. I'm usually hanging out with these people here. Much love. That's all I have to say really at this point.
All right, and I know you shared your links earlier, but if you wanted to again, and that's to Rick's channel right there. If you guys want to catch any of his stuff. All right, so let's see. So now, Metal, you're up.
Oh, the problem is what do I not do, right? I'm the Metal. I create a publication called X Dynamis Chaos, which is led by a web novel and web comic of the same name, plus a bunch of other stories that I make. I also run a channel called The Vomitorium that you can catch twice a week, which is a kind of like a mix between pop and niche culture news, a lot of video games, a lot of movies, sometimes comics, depending on what we can find in the news. I also vlog and play video games for people as well, and I don't know, I just do everything. Actually, on the Vomitorium, I'll probably be playing a video game tomorrow morning before I get back to sleep and then work on other random stuff. And I might even be making a game soon. I've been talking to Marsupial about that, so just follow me places. You'll see what I do. I'm everywhere.
All right. Anything more, Metal, or?
No, I could be here all day. I'm deciding not to.
Okay.
Could you do me a favor? I
already put your link to your From My Comic in the chat.
Yes, that's not the point. Could you put my Twitter also so JR could message me on Twitter?
Yeah, I can do that.
Please, thank you.
Actually, I should drop my Twitter. That's probably the easiest way to find out what I'm doing, is to just follow me at any of my social media on like the proper pages, because I post everything everywhere all the time.
I'm not sure whether JR's on Twitter though.
I also have he doesn't do Twitter. I have a Facebook page and everything too. Like again, like you pick your place that you want to find me. I'm probably already there posting things. I post a lot of my stuff to Minds.
All right.
Yeah, I don't do Minds as much as I used to.
All right. So with all that, then, anything more, Tim? Or I'm sorry, not Tim. Metal.
No, I'm good.
All right. So, all right. Well, here's my final pitch of the evening. Here. Well, let's see. Before we do that, I dislike all social media.
You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/@themetal, all one word, or you could just click on that link earlier in the chat to my YouTube. I also post stuff in my community section sometimes.
Yeah, and I just got a private message, but I think Rick may have already done it. But anyways, okay. So now I'll finish up here. Of course, you can catch us 6 nights a week, Sundays here with the other guys here as we do the panel shows. Monday through Thursday are the Niche Newscast, where we, of course, go over the day's events in the world of niche, anime, cartoons, comics, manga, pro wrestling. We also have, of course, Wrestling Wrap Up as part of that, and This Day in Niche History. And then, of course, on Fridays, have the guys come in as co-host, where we look back at comics history, the historical comics retrospect, where we go back, read old comics, look them out, give them commentary on them, do dramatic readings, all that good stuff. Rick will be my co-host this Friday, as we will be continuing our look through November 1939, focusing in on Fox Feature syndicates. And Rick, of course, I'll send you the specific reading material probably sometime tomorrow when I can get around to it. Next Friday, Metal will be back with me on the August the 11th. Well, still be November 1939. So with Rick, it'll be Fox Feature Syndicate, and then when I have you on a Metal next, it'll be Levi Gleason. So and then Tim will be next on with us on September the 8th, I believe, because that's the day right after Rick's next appearance. So, or his second appearance. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. And before we go, let me just so JR says subscribe to Metal. Thanks for the link. All right. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and we will see you all tomorrow. Bye.